I hope the microphone picks me up well. I'm not gonna do test audio because when I plug in my Blue Yeti into my phone, which is what I'm recording on, and then I try to play back the video, it tries to play through the Blue Yeti, like that is the speaker, so I can't hear it. So we're just gonna do this. We're just here. We're here for it. I forgot my coffee, so one second. This could be the start of something new. Oh, hold on. Excuse me. What am I talking about today? Okay. So I wanted to talk about how we as humans need like benchmarks for morality. And our life honestly becomes purposeless and meaningless when we don't have that. So this is the reason that people really get a lot from religion or from different structures that they incorporate into their lives. It gives us like guideposts for our behaviors and for our interests and for things that we focus on and pay attention to. A lot of the time we think that we need to strive for like personal freedom, personal sovereignty. I know in the New Age movement, that's a huge thing, your sovereignty, that you are in charge of your own life, that you determine how you're gonna create your life and what you want it to look like and how you show up in that way. You determine that, it's up to you. You can be unique, you wanna be powerful in yourself. And on some level, yes, we do have to have a certain level of personhood, right? But we need to make sure that what that personhood is rooted into is more than just an aesthetic or a rebellious attitude towards the patriarchy or the man, same thing, or like your parents, or fighting against some kind of societal expectation or norm. And I think a lot of younger people, they think this personal freedom is what's going to give them boosted confidence or a sense of identity. And so a lot of kids and a lot of younger people are searching for identity, and they think that personal freedom and that taking the aesthetic or political approach or Kiwi move, now be careful. Taking that kind of approach, they think is going to lead to more freedom and lead to a more stable, grounded identity, right? Which is what we're really all searching for. We want an identity, right? And why is this? Because I think I'll put it this way so that I can get into the next point a little more smoothly. A lot of us have structures in our lives that are too rigid when we're growing up. They're either too rigid or they're completely lacking. And so when we're kids and we have a very lacking in structure growing up, you do see this like searching for my own identity thing come out of those homes. But then there's also the flip side where you have too much rigid structure and you feel like you have no personhood growing up, and that really messes with you, and then you search for it, and that's your journey in your life. So I think all of us on some level are searching for our identity, whether it be in a more loose structured environment or if we are seeking structure. But the truth is that humans are genuinely always seeking a healthy sense of structure. That's the point that matters. We need healthy structure, and it is a balance. This is the difference between religion helping people and people getting invested in cults. So in this level, religion gives people the structure and the moral benchmarks to meet to really feel like they have that identity, that they understand the dimensions that they're living within, right? They understand the boundaries. They know what they should do. They know what they shouldn't do. It doesn't matter how they feel then. They know and have a system for dealing with that. And a lot of the times, big issue is that there isn't a system for dealing with that lack of identity. So what we do is we find it in unhealthy ways, we try to cope with it, and that kind of becomes a problem. So as I was saying, religion gives us that moral benchmark, right? So we know what we should and shouldn't do, and we have a way and a process to deal with it when tough things come up, when difficult things come up, right? We know the decision-making process. And I think in cults, that's why we as humans are drawn to cults. Just spilled coffee all over myself. We're gonna keep talking. This is the outfit I wore yesterday, so I'm changing anyway. The reason that people get into cults is because there is that sense of structure, right? When you've been lacking structure for a long time, or I think a lot of New Age people, they go through this pipeline of searching for identity. They think they're searching for freedom. They find it in structure, a rigid structure, right? So the cult draws them in with this human nature that we have, that we're seeking understanding and a structure for us to perceive our life through, because that is how we deal with difficulty. It is very hard to deal with difficulty without a set process to go through that, right? So when we get invested in these communities, it feels like a community. We finally have support. We have a system that governs our thought. We now have a self, right? We now have an identity. We identify with this, and then we get drawn in because there's a structure and a discipline, which we do need as humans. But this is that balancing act. So overly religious institutions that have an underbelly, right? So like a cult, right? You have this underbelly of coercion, control, right? And that is a big issue. That's where the balance comes in, because yes, we need structure. We don't need to be utterly controlled and our mind wiped, because what that is, we think we found our identity, but it actually was taken from us. And that's why there's this balancing act. I'm going to put my coffee down so I don't spill it all over me again. But what I'm trying to say is structure is one of the most important things that we can have as humans. And that's why our structure and how we're raised when we're children really deeply impacts us. So a lot of research has been done and stuff. There's a reason gentle parenting became super popular. It's because we realize that having a selfhood, a self, and an identity is super important, especially for children who don't know anything and are still learning. And that's why as parents, what we should do is give them a structure to understand and learn and grow. This isn't a parenting video, and I'm not a parent. I do work with children, but that's a different note. My point is the structure matters. And I think in some gentle parenting, we have a structure that we're like allowing them to have that personal freedom. And that's really important. But where there needs to be a little more balance, again, more structure. You never want to be too lenient. You don't never want to have too much structure. And that's in every facet of life, not just parenting. I'm not talking about parenting. So what kids do need is structure, and they need to learn how to discipline themselves and how to regulate their emotions. And the way they learn that is through a healthy parent. And how's a parent healthy? They have the structure, the understanding, and the moral compass and code to understand basically how to deal with life. So a lot of us, especially New Age people, and I think this is a big part of the problem, and as I talk about New Age a lot because I was invested in that for such a long time, so I think a huge problem with the New Age is that there isn't a structure, and I touched on this in my last video towards the end. One thing that makes us actually have a personhood and have an identity and know who we are and be empowered and confident is to have a structure, an important structure in our life, whether this be religion, group, your family, having a job, having responsibilities. It's the responsibilities and the discipline that refines us and allows us to have a true identity in ourselves. And so I think there is a trick happening in the New Age where you think that this personal freedom, personal sovereignty, I am God, I create my reality. If I speak it, it's gonna happen. There's this sense that is us, right? But if you think about it and peel back the layers a little bit, it's actually detachment. Because what you're actually doing is you're not disciplining yourself, you're not identifying where you can be better. What you're doing is removing any of those structures and saying, oh, it just is. And I think when we do that, we remove the need to strive. And when we remove the actual need to strive, which is what we need as humans, when we remove the sacrificial aspect, when we remove the discipline aspect, we will not succeed. We will not accomplish, because the law of manifestation is not the natural law. The natural law is action. The natural law is that we, as humans, go through darkness, go through stress, and bounce back, therefore becoming more resilient in the same way that muscles work. So muscles, we work out our muscles, they tear, right? And then you give them some rest time and they heal stronger. That is the human journey. And that is why our sense of searching for identity through our whole life, that is that refinement process. And that's the reason a lot of people are lost, stuck, depressed. It's because they don't have that sense of identity. And when we aren't giving ourselves the structure, when we aren't giving ourselves a deadline, when we aren't giving ourselves a moral benchmark, when we're not giving ourselves a system for dealing with our lack or our stresses, then we don't have anywhere to put that. We don't have anything. We are undefined. And when we are undefined as people, we don't feel like we know our way. We don't feel like we have clarity. And this is going to lead to depression. This is going to lead to delusion. This is going to lead to the new age people who cut off their families and think that it's just going to fall in their lap. This important information just coming down into their mind, and it's going to change everything. But what these manifestation gurus aren't telling you, what all of these people online aren't telling you, is that they are lost and struggling. Or they actually had to discipline themselves, wake up on time, do these actions in order to accomplish these manifestation goals. They had to put in the work. They had to have a new system, a new structure, a new sense of understanding in their life in order to accomplish those goals. It isn't about wishing and hoping and dreaming and thinking and processing and love and light, and there's so much more. And it's so much more important for us to have a structure and a system and have an anchored identity. And without structures, like religion, I know a lot of people say, oh, religion's so whack, I'm spiritual, I don't want to work a 9 to 5. For some people who are successful, who are happy, they're doing those exact things. And why is that? It's because they have a structure. If we are undefined as people, we have no clarity. We have no identity at that point. And we are just coasting and moving and changing and shifting. And that's why we don't have this sense of stability. And true freedom comes from this sense of stability and groundedness and being anchored. Without being anchored in our body, in our life, in a job, we don't know who we are. And that's not just for some of us. That's not just me being in the matrix. That's the truth. We as human beings need discipline and responsibility. We as humans need to feel a struggle and then break through it and learn and grow. That's how we learn and grow. Without learning and growing, we are just children forever. And infinite children forever, our whole life, they don't accomplish the goals that you have for yourself. They don't accomplish this legacy. And I've been there, and I love you guys. So I just want to say, it's not always comfortable. It's not always fun. It doesn't always feel good. We don't always want to do the thing. We don't always want to take and follow through step by step. Sometimes we want to jump ahead, and so we get caught in our visualization because we're like, I would love for life to be like this. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't this cool fake thing that I put on ChatGPT be cool? Wouldn't this cool abstract ideal for a future freaking thing be cool? Yeah, and that's cool, and we can have time for that, and that's how innovation happens. It happens through this imaginative process, which is super cool. But those things don't come to fruition, and they don't exist without the effort and the discipline of the person who is following through with that. I really just wanted to make this video to emphasize that the responsibilities and the overcoming and the resilience built through overcoming things in this life That's what makes the human journey so special, and that's what leads us to wisdom and to strength and to power. It isn't just because I say I am powerful, I am strong, I am confident, everything comes to me, I am rich, all the money in the world comes to me. It's not because of that. It's because of resilience built through turmoil, suffering, struggle. It's because of the resilience and the strength and the power built over time of discipline. Because the more discipline, the more power that you've built up, whether it be in your skill set or be in your communication or be in any way that you are, the focus that you put in your life, the disciplined focus you have in your life, and the amount of time and effort and energy and love and care and dedication and devotion you put into the things you focus on in this life, that leads to the refinement of yourself. That leads to you having more wisdom, having more trust in yourself, being more adaptable and resilient. That adaptability and resilience doesn't come, and I'm sure you've seen this a lot, from not disciplining yourself. Because in fact, that's where anxiety is breeded. That's where stress is breeded. It's when you don't have the ability to bounce back because you've never given yourself the journey or the growth that it takes, or worked on the discipline it takes to really meet those goals. And that's why I have learned that over time. And now it's me getting through my imposter syndrome, because the truth of the matter is, I don't always want to say what I feel. I struggle with that. I'm an INFJ. I don't know if you know anything about that, but I struggle with that. I struggle to really communicate exactly what I'm feeling sometimes. And so the discipline for me is to push through that and really open myself up to this experience. And this experience could bring a lot of people that don't like me. This experience could bring a lot of negative comments or a lot of people who disagree with me. And the truth of the matter is that if I am ever going to have this vision of helping people and having a community of people, I have to break through that imposter syndrome. And that's hard. But through the discipline of posting even when I'm afraid, of sharing the opinions that I think are important, even when nobody asked for them, I have to push through the discomfort. And that's something that's so important. Structure helps us push through the discomfort of life. Why is that? Because again, it gives us a process. It gives us a lens through which to understand our situation, regardless of how difficult it is. It gives us a process to work through it and get to the other side. And on the other side of that process, we have an identity in something. We know who we are. It's not just a higher self being that aligns everything for us. No, we know who we are. On earth, embodied, in our life, in the world, in our communities, in our family line, in our job description. We know who we are. Make sure your identity is anchored in something true, time-tested, something you can actually be dedicated to, not just something that's a fling, a trend. We actually are called to discipline. We are called to structure. We are called to order. And you deserve justice. All right, court is adjourned. Have a great day. You're loved, you're beautiful, and it's not a mantra. Don't say that to yourself in the mirror 50 times. Actually, do something. Do something for me, okay? For you. Do something for you, for me. Please. Love you. Thank you for being here. I genuinely am so grateful, and I can't wait to talk to you again. This has been a blast. Thanks.